Upon completing the service, you will be able to number 1. Define the standardized recipe. Number 2. List of the major components of the standardized recipe. Number 3. State of benefits of standardized recipe. And 4. Be able to reuse standardized recipe effectively. And number 5. Using of the measurements of food reduction and converting recipe ingredients amount from one yield to different yield. Banquet services is a scope of administration style for numerous cook occasions, for example, wedding, current services, etc. Let's talk about the recipe development. Developing new recipes and improving existing ones ensure progress and efficient for food safety services establishments. In recipe development processes, there are 4 cycles of it. So first, develop the recipe ingredients. It is defining a ratio must be maintained among ingredients. Consider the dislikes and likes of customers, the availability and the seasonableness of ingredients, and also the combination and texture and color. The second one is the develop methods and procedures. And the production process must be visualized. All the procedures and sequences must be correct, must simply to follow the required minimal effort, must take into account the use and availability of equipment and tools. The third one is develop packaging and services and presentations. It takes for a long time to finish and complete a perfect dish. The best tasting dishes are incomplete without watering presentations. So in this procedure, you must need more time to complete this and to be perfect. It also needs the product's visual display. This will be the product will be plated and packaged for presentation for the guest. This is also increases not only the palatability but also the sellability of the product. And lastly, the develop of markable name. So if you want your dishes to be markable for the guest, you must consider the matching name that is both descriptive and touching should be developed to complement the recipe. And number 5, the standardized recipe. The recipe has to be tested, adjusted, and then written in the standard recipe format. So, what is standardized recipe? It could be a lot composed directions, automated reliability set up, a known amount of nature and nourishment for a specific area for a food, and also yield and amount do numerous testing. It's one of to specify the exact amount of ingredients, equipments, and preparation methods that is needed. And it is also in order to develop the highest quality product in the most efficient manner. So it wouldn't matter if you made the product or I made the product, it should all turn the same if you are using standardized recipe. And as I mentioned, standardized recipe ensures that the same end products is going to happen no matter who prepares it. It can also be used to save on and control food and labor costs, and it also provides regular monitoring of products, which is the key to identifying deviation from this recipe. And standardized recipe allows you to scale up or down if you need 50 portions or 10 portions. That is going to allow you to do that without altering the flavor, textures, or the portion size. And the nutrition analysis is completely to establish the nutritional content so that consistent for each serving's food. a short note before we are going to proceed. The next topic is before we start in cooking, we should think first that everything was in a place. The ingredients, everything, the cutting boards, peppers, and so on. So let's talk about the benefits of standardized recipe. The other benefits of standardized recipe would be the consistent quality and also the quantity and a predictable yield. You're also going to have a fewer errors in your food orders, and in the budget control going to be much better. By using this standardized recipe, you're gonna have a consistent nutritional content, including the knowledge of the any food allergens. Also gonna control your labor cost and time scheduling efficiency, and also the confidence you may apply. It might be increasing when you're cooking. You're gonna be eliminate that guesswork, and you're gonna have any food shortage during the mealtime because a big concern of any of the cooks as far as running out of food. So it's gonna increase their confidence that they are not going to run out of food. So next is the major component of standardized recipe. So first we need to know the name of the recipe. Second one is the ingredients in order they are to be used in cooking the dish. Next, the measurement of the ingredients. Must apply the weight, the volume for the ingredients that we are gonna use for the food that we are need to prepare. Next is assembly methods and also the yield. So the other important components of standardized recipe would be the portion size, listed cooking temperature, and also the food safety, and also the guidelines. For example, like the minimum internal cooking temperature of the How do you standardize recipe? So, recipe make sure your staff know how to read a recipe, how to measure and prepare the food according to the recipe. Make sure that they read the recipe entirely, not just the first the few lines, and should be familiar with the kitchen equipment and where to find the certain utensils, and which is the proper use of utensils. So your staff is gonna read the recipe and measure their ingredients correctly. For example, 1 cup of flour is 8 ounces by volume, but it's only weight. 4 ounces and weight is a more accurate measurement than a volume. A different amount can affect the quantity and also the quality of the product, and it may also change the nutritional content. So we really want to stress following the recipe correctly. So in the preparation of food, we must need have a control tools for the recipes. So we need to normalize plans because it's the major control apparatus for the food administration, and also normalize the formulas guarantees the predictable quality and amount. It also dependable for the cost extents. So these are the advantages of standardized recipes. First, eliminates guessworks. The second one is consistency and high quality products. Third is eases costing. The fourth is training of staff. Fifth, minimize leftovers and waste. and it also prevents dependence on the staff and saves time, and lastly facilitates control. So in total yield or quantity of servings or portions that are recipe products, and infrequently the whole weight or volume of the recipe, it is talk about how we control and measure the ingredients or the foods that we are going to prepare and to present. So we also need to have a portion size. This will be the amount or size of the individual portions. It has a advantages in food management. First, portion comes from the item and consistency. Also, the customers receive consistency quantities anytime they order a given plate or drinks. So we must need to use this one in a preparing a food. So let's proceed the types of measurement using in the kitchens. So we are all familiar because we are already do some cookings and preparing foods. So in every preparation, we must need to measure all the ingredients that are we're going to use. First are the volume. This one are we usually using when we are measuring the liquids or fluids that are usually used and put in the dry ingredients. So next is the weight. So you also need to know how many grams or kilos that are we are going to use in preparing food. So the third one is count. It is about the number of measurements. In use accurate measurements is critically, and therefore the items to be used is understood to be drawn in size. So for example, in cooking that we have to use some tools to measure the ingredients and how many that we're gonna put, like the salt, how many teaspoons or tablespoons that we're gonna put in the mixture. So that's the way do we know how much we're gonna add, or it's already the method in cooking. So if there are measurements, we also have a converting and adjacent recipes. We are also familiar about this. We already studied this in senior high, K to 12. How much be the equivalent measures of the ingredients that we're gonna convert, like for example ounces to kilogram or grams. What is the equivalent value of these equivalent measurements? So in converting ingredients or conversion method, there are also cautions when converting recipes. So when converting recipe, conversion calculation don't take under consideration certain factors in equipment. The next one is mixing a cooking times, This may be affected the equipment, customized cook mix and different from equipment utilized in the initial recipe. So the third one is the cooking temperatures. This is also need when we are gonna cook, especially in meat. And next is shrinkage. This share of food lost during this shortage of preparation. The next one is the recipe errors. Some of the problem may be occur with the recipe conversion or substantially increasing the yield of small home cooks. Recipe will be are usually given in the volume measure, which might be inaccurate, and increasing the amounts magnifies these problems. And also the spices and seasonings must be increases with the quotients as doubling or tripling the quantity and satisfy factor having a negative consequences of this. So if possible, it's best to under season and adjust it before serving or before we gonna do the steps. So before we end this topic, remember that standardization is always meets the expectation of the guest. Also, the food services operations have to meet the expectation of the own management. Also, the time the visit of food services operation have to meet the expectation for cost and profits, because we don't want to short or having a trouble about the cost or after we prepare the food or serve it to our guests. And also we need to expect standards which are critical to the food services industry, so they're simply good business. And we always remember that the positivity for the preparing of the food and also giving love for the food if you want to have a positive feedbacks or results of your works. That's all. Thank you.